A senior U.S. military commander said the large American force buildup in the Middle East represents one of the biggest U.S. military concentrations in the region's history. The United States has reinforced its military presence across the area, including the deployment of the U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln operating near Iran. The key questions now are, what is the actual size of the current military buildup? Is all this force just pressure on Iran? And what happens if the latest negotiations fail and the U.S. actually launches a strike? Let's start with the military buildup itself. The U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln is considered one of the most important elements of this deployment. On board, it carries some of America's most advanced fighter jets, including stealth-capable F-35 aircraft, F/A-18E/F Super Hornets, and EA-18G electronic warfare jets. Sailing with the carrier is a group of Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, which are capable of launching Tomahawk cruise missiles, often used to clear and prepare the path for follow-up stealth air operations. Some reports also indicate that the United States may deploy B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean, a strategic location that could be used as a launch point for long-range strikes if needed. When we talk about military bases, the United States operates from several bases across the Middle East, including Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, along with other facilities in countries such as Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and elsewhere in the region. During this period, the U.S. has significantly reinforced its presence at many of these bases as well. At the same time, some countries in the region have stressed that their territories should not be used as launch points for attacks on Iran if the United States decides to carry out another strike. The second question is, are these massive deployments, described by some as one of the largest U.S. military buildups, mainly meant as pressure on Iran to accept American conditions? Some reports suggest the daily operating cost of these deployments can approach around $30 million per day, even without actual combat operations, which supports the idea that the buildup itself is also a form of strategic pressure. So what exactly are the U.S. demands toward Iran? The U.S. president wants Tehran to fully stop any military nuclear program and move its enriched uranium stockpile to another country under international oversight. Iran's stated position, according to this view, is that it could accept ending any military nuclear track completely, while keeping its right to run peaceful civilian nuclear programs. Israel, however, wants additional conditions included, such as reducing Iran's ballistic missile arsenal and limiting the range of its missiles. Israel also wants Iran to stop supporting its aligned armed groups across the Middle East, including in Yemen, Iraq, Lebanon, and Syria. If a deal is reached between the United States and Iran over the nuclear program, and Washington decides not to strike, that could leave Israel facing the situation on its own. In that case, if Israel chose to carry out a strike by itself, it might struggle to handle the scale of Iranian retaliation without direct U.S. support. In the previous conflict, there were reports that Iran communicated through channels with U.S. officials and signaled which Israeli military targets it intended to hit with missile strikes. Now the final question. What if negotiations collapse and the United States actually attacks Iran? That would be a highly dangerous scenario and could trigger a region-wide war across the Middle East. Iran likely wouldn't limit its response to Israel alone. U.S. military bases across the region could also be treated as legitimate targets for retaliation. That could pull regional countries into the conflict as it expands, including states like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, and Kuwait. Iran's response might not come only from its own territory either. It could activate aligned armed groups across the region, such as the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Shia militias operating in Iraq and Syria. An even bigger question would then be, who could step in to stop the war? In the previous 12-day conflict, the United States played a key role in mediation and de-escalation. But in this scenario, if the U.S. is directly involved in the strike, would it stop at that? Or would the region be left burning, with global consequences for energy routes and international supply chains? It's a catastrophic scenario with unpredictable outcomes. What do you think could happen next?